Hello and welcome. I'm Stacey, your Disney hotel lady. In our next creator interview today, we have Sean from But Mostly Disney. Thanks for being here, Sean.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled.
So tell us about your name first, But Mostly Disney. Where did that come from?
Well, it's funny. I was sitting in Momentum, and I'd started this YouTube channel about a year ago, and I was calling it You Tater because my nickname is Tater. Been called that a long time. You're welcome to call me that. But at YouTube, You Tater, I thought it was clever, and then I realized that no one knows who Tater is, so it didn't mean a whole lot. And of course, we always joke, a salute to all nations, but mostly America, from Sam Eagle on the Muppets. And as I was sitting there in one of our talks, I thought, wow, but mostly Disney. And then I went, and sure enough, it was available. So I bought the domain right in there, and then have slowly switched everything over to from whatever it was before to trying to all be but mostly Disney now. So now it gives me a little leeway so that if I do a video, like we go to Key West every year, so if I do a Key West video, it still fits into the title, travel, but mostly Disney. So it gives me an out.
Awesome. Awesome. So, when did your love of Disney start?
Oh gosh, I mean, when I was a kid, like a lot of folks, I think we went to. I'm 53, so we went to Disney 75, 76, 77 when I was a kid. I think we went three times, and it wasn't our thing. It wasn't our family's thing. My dad didn't give it to me. Actually, my mom, my grandmom went. But I loved sitting on the floor when I was a kid watching Walt Disney, the reruns of the shows. I loved Mickey Mouse Club was the original one was still on in the afternoons. So I loved all of that. I actually moved to Florida. I lived there in the 90s and never went to Disney. I lived in Jacksonville. I lived in Daytona, never went over there. And then we have three kids. My wife is a teacher. And so about 5 days before a spring break, she said, we have to get out of the city. We have to go somewhere. And so I booked a random hotel and threw three kids in diapers and a giant triple stroller and jumped in the car and we went to Disney and that started it all. So it's something that our family really, it wasn't like I was a Disney guy and brought it. I mean, we all really grew together on it, which is kind of fun. So it's our thing, which is a blast.
Yeah, nice. You and your family. That's cool. And what
Yeah.
was, may I ask, do you remember? What was the random hotel you booked?
Oh gosh, I see it all the time. It was under construction at the time. I can probably tell you while I'm talking about it, and we got a really good deal on it because we were young and had no money, and so it was just outside the gate, and again it was really cheap. And what we did actually is we picked that because um, we went to Magic Kingdom one day and then also from there went to SeaWorld because you bought like the season pass or whatever, and you got the whole the whole week free, so we could go twice without spending a ton of money on it.
Wow.
Um, I can't remember now. I'm looking real quickly, but I don't see it. It has. We just drove by the other day. It has a big pirate ship in the pool, and it was cold, and it was a beautiful hotel. I mean, it really was nice. It was just that they were doing construction, so it was like $89 a night. It's probably
Wow. Well,
$400 now,
if that were California, I would have said the Howard Johnson, but that's Orlando, so I'm not sure which one has the pirate ship.
which is funny because we actually stayed in the Howard Johnson when I was a kid, in between Orlando and Tampa, when we went when I was young.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. So you are remembering your first visit there. So, what advice do you have now as someone who has more experience and knows more tips and tricks? What's your advice for the first time visitor, especially when it comes to booking their hotel or their place they're going to stay?
I think for me, it and a lot of it depends on budget, right? So we were broke. We couldn't have stayed on property. We didn't know anything about it, even if we wanted to. And that's the tough thing, right? Is once you stay on property, it's very difficult to go back.
Yeah.
Like for you, when we went to Disneyland, we booked the Candy Cane Hotel. I think it was called Candy Cane, and it had
Yeah.
gotten good reviews. And then we just started looking around and ended up sliding over to the Disneyland Hotel, which was such a great time. I mean, that's where, if I was in California, where I would go back to. We loved it. So budget's a big deal, and it's not everybody ends up going every year. So that one year in the cheapest hotel we can find started a 18-year tradition that we go every single year, and it slowly ramped up. So we started with this hotel room. The next year we rented house. I think actually for the next 2 or 3 years we rented houses, which was awesome. And we could have had a whole nother family in some of these homes. They had pools, they had hot tubs. You still had to drive. You weren't on property, but it was magical and wonderful. And the whole week costs what one night at the Contemporary costs. It was great. And from there we moved to a condo complex, kind of way out, past Animal Kingdom, and that was still lovely. And they had a water park and a river, and they had a guy playing guitar, Jimmy Buffett and stuff at the afternoons. It was really nice. And then for my 40th birthday, so 13 years ago, my wife got us one night at the Contemporary. So we packed a little day bag, and she got it in the garden wing, and they upgraded us to theme park view.
Oh.
And our wallets have never recovered. So that being said, it's all magical, right? I mean, everywhere we've stayed, we've loved. Would I go back to renting a house? Probably not. Do I stay off property? Sometimes, especially when I go down by myself. But staying on property, there's nothing like it. So if you can swing it, it's so worth it.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so much depends on budget. Yeah, that's a big factor.
Yes.
So let's talk about then the choices between on property and off property, and what are your favorites, and does that align with what you might consider the best? Are your favorites the best, or do you have?
Well, I do. Honestly, I'm not much of a planner. I'm kind of a wing it kind of guy, but I have started looking because as I started this YouTube channel, I mean, budget is important, right? We live in Virginia, right? So I'm going down once a month from Virginia, either driving or flying on Spirit. And I've only allocated some money to it, right? Like, this isn't my job yet, right? And that's what I'm working on.
Wink, nudge, nudge.
Right, exactly. And my wife's all in. I mean, she loves it, and I like her better when she's in my videos. So I try to take her, but when I take her or one of the kids, it doubles the budget as far as food and tickets, and I'm the only one with an annual pass right now. So for instance, I just got back on Wednesday, and I was going to stay. I guess technically I don't stay off property. I stay like at the Disney Springs resorts. And those are technically on property, but they're not Disney hotels. So I guess I would have to divide it up that way. And I'd been staying, there's a Hilton there that I love, but if that's $150, then right next door is a Wyndham where I've been staying a lot, and that's like $100. However, they add a resort fee of $45. And then if I drive, then it's $25 a night to park. So for this last trip this week, I stayed at All Star Music, and it was actually cheaper with my annual pass holder discount to stay there than it was to stay at an off-property resort. So all of that being said, I will say this, we kind of shunned the moderate resorts when the kids were little. And there's two reasons. One, because my wife loves a hot tub, and the value resorts don't have hot tubs. So that is a big difference. There's no slides in the pool. It's just a regular pool. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous, but there's no slides and no hot tub. And my wife likes to soak in a hot tub either before we go or after we go to the parks. So that kind of ruled it out for us. And the other thing is, we're a family of 5. So a lot of times for the value resorts, we'd either have to get 2 rooms or get a family suite. And by that time we could stay at a moderate or sometimes even at a deluxe resort for a similar price. So those family suites can be $500 a night, whereas Riverside might be 350, and then it has the little pull out bed on the wall and two queens beds. And we're, even when the kids are older, we're still pretty snuggly. So we just kind of cram in and do it, to save money.
That's nice. That's good. That's good to know about the value resorts because I'm the same. I would love to soak my feet after a long park day. That's the best.
It makes a big difference. And I think the other thing I've noticed is the amount of people in the pool. Like at the value resorts, there's 100 people in the pool. At the moderate resorts, it's like 50. And then at the deluxe, except for Polynesian, it's like 25. So with the exception of the Polynesian pool, which gets so crowded all the time, like at the Contemporary, we never have a problem finding a chair, to put our stuff down and jump in. But that Polynesian pool is crazy. They need a bigger pool so badly.
I haven't paid attention yet, but I hope there's one coming with the new tower that's going up.
There is. I haven't seen how big it is. I know the original designs were really cool and it was amazing and had like 2 levels. And I think they scaled that down a little bit. So I'm excited to see this month too, like in 4 days, right? Opens the 17th,
Yeah,
I think.
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope I get to stay there. I'll be over in Orlando in January to stay at the new cabins at the Fort Wilderness, and
Oh yeah.
I've got my fingers crossed I can get a room too at the new Polynesian Tower.
All right. So here's a question for you. What do you think of the design of the new tower? Now, keeping in mind, I'm also very choose the good and I stay positive. I don't mind being honest, but I am very pro Disney. But I would like to hear what you think about the design.
I love it. I mean, I saw, like you said, momentum. I drove by in a bus the outside on my way somewhere else that weekend, and I could see some of the construction. And I think some people are complaining about how it looks compared to the existing Polynesian hotel, but like I don't have any attachments that way or sentimentality, so I think it looks great. And I've all the concept art I've seen for the inside and the storytelling they're trying to accomplish that way. I think it's beautiful and I can't wait to see it. So
I'm definitely going to reserve judgment. I don't think it's as awful as everybody makes it out. Disney people, we hate change.
yeah.
We fear it and don't want it to happen. I don't. It's certainly not an ugly hotel, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I would have tried to match the roof line, kind of like they did with the Floridian. Like the DVC part of the Floridian looks very much attached, but Bay Lake Tower doesn't look like the Contemporary, right? And
Yeah.
I don't remember the outcry, but I may not have been, as engaged in Disney when that opened to hear all the people complaining. And so I'm always excited for something. So I'm happy. I can't wait to stay there. I think the inside looks beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, good to hear. Yeah, we do want the positive notes.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so you've already talked a little bit about budget. What else? You have an annual pass, so that gets you some discounts, which is awesome. But what about those families that are coming? What kind of budget tips can you offer those that are coming for the first time or maybe the second or third time?
I mean, it is so difficult because it's gotten to a point where this year our trip would have been 4 figures. I mean, a couple $1,000s more than it was even last year. I mean, it's certainly going up. And
Yeah.
I don't ever argue for people who say it's just too expensive to go anymore. I get it.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference between too expensive and no value. And I think my favorite example of that is the minivans, right? When I took a lift from Boardwalk to Polynesian a couple weeks ago, and it was like $10 plus tip. The minivan was $44. I mean, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But the minivan is so much better. I mean, it really is. Did I need to do it? Absolutely not. I was very happy with my Lyft driver. He was wonderful. It was fine. But I wouldn't have felt cheated if I'd have spent that money. We had some friends just come from Germany and they asked us what to do. And we recommended staying on property and they didn't. They stayed at a Rosen or Rosen. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And they had a great time. I mean, it's really, what would you rather do? I mean, even little things like if I save $40, um, over 3 days, that's my coffee for the week, right? That's a donut somewhere. That's a snack somewhere or a souvenir. So I think you go for broke, you swing for the fence as much as you can, but I've never been disappointed. I mean, the first time we stayed at All Star Sports with my son, it was 3 of his friends for his senior trip. That's what he wanted to do. And I chaperoned. I was kind of like, oh, we're staying at All Star. I loved it. It was great. I mean, I really had a good time. The room was great. It was the same customer service. I've even grown to like the bus travel, which we didn't like because we typically drive down. We've as a family, we've never flown down there. We always drive our car. So we typically drive to and from the resorts unless we're staying on the monorail, that's the best way to travel. But there is a difference. So if you have a small child, like I'm helping my brother plan a trip, he has a small daughter who needs to nap. Yeah, you can save a couple $100 to stay somewhere else, but you can walk back from Magic Kingdom at 2:00 to put your child to bed and let them have a nap. And what is the difference between value and cost for that? How much is that worth to you? That being said, I mean, look, when I checked into the Contemporary for the first time, I felt like a Cary Grant. I felt like a movie star. It was just such an exceptional experience that I give up a lot of other things in my day-to-day life to be able to do that. But we don't do it every time. We rotate pretty well between all the hotels. And we've come to actually really love Riverside, which is a moderate resort. And I think I was looking just now for January, that's like $326 a night, which is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as much, anywhere you're going to go, it's $300 a night for a hotel room. It's just the world we live in. And I wish it would go the other way, but I don't think we can prepare ourselves for that. I think it's going to keep going. So a budget for as much as you can. And that staying on property to me really lets that magic seep out of the parks so that you feel like you're literally enveloped in it the whole time. Like I felt just as magical being at All Star as I did at the Polynesian, even though the theming is different. But I think they put the same level of grounds care. The food is good. Again, the staff is always amazing. I mean, but it's hard. It's hard when you look at that price when you budget for it. So expect the sticker shock, but I just can't imagine being disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I remember when I was young and my mom is teaching me, about budget and how to look for deals and shop around, do research and everything. And for the longest time, I thought I had to have a hotel room that was under $200 a night, under 100 even. Then I bumped it to 200. And now these days it's like, well, I'm really happy if I can get something for 200. Like, yeah. But that's everywhere. It's not just Disney. So, yeah.
And I will say for us, the hotels and the food might be the most important part of our vacation. I sent a buddy of mine, he's a non-Disney guy down, and he was like, I see what you mean. I mean, picking the restaurants are more important to us than picking our fast passes. Picking our hotel is as exciting to us as what day we're going to Magic Kingdom. And look, I still love it, but I could go to Disney and not go to a park now. Like I could sit at the Polynesian for 5 days. And when you get to that level, it does feel like a Dirty Dancing kind of resort. There's activities. My kids learn to hula dance there. The s'mores, the bonfires, the movies, the arts and crafts. I mean, all that stuff, we try, if time allows, to do park day off, park day off, park day off, so that we can really enjoy this resort we're sometimes spending $500-700 a night on, to really feel like we get all the juice out of that berry, right?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I agree. I didn't think there would come a time when I would go to Disney and not go to the park, but I know it's
Right.
like, how do you wrap your head around that? But yeah, so if you go often enough, you can get there because you can find that magic in the hotels just as easily as you can in the parks. So it depends, like you said, where you gonna spend your money.
Well, I mean, my youngest daughter and I went down the week before Thanksgiving, because what we did do this year, since I've been trying to get this YouTube thing going, is we didn't do a big family trip. We did smaller trips. So each kid kind of got to go on their own, which was fun.
Cute.
And so we did the Christmas. We stayed at the Wyndham, and they have at the Wyndham Garden, which is my favorite Disney Springs hotel now by far. They have two levels, and they have a garden level, which is much cheaper, and a little, well, it's $40 a night, something different to be up in a tower where you can have a firework view. And they're both wonderful, but different. But what we walked over to Disney Springs and did the Christmas tree stroll, and it was free. Didn't cost us a dime. And we had a blast. And so I do think Disney still allows that to happen. You know, we go to Key West. I used to live down there, and so we travel down there every summer, and we'll stop in Orlando just to pick up a little magic, you know, and it's not typically a great deal budget wise to go to Disney for a day, right? You get a much bigger discount on your tickets the longer you're there. And, you know, over 3 days, you start to save a little bit of money. So it's not $180 to jump into the park. But, you know, we'll still stop by, stay somewhere near Disney Springs. Riverside allows pets. So does Yacht Club, Wilderness Cabins at Wilderness Lodge, and Art of Animation. So they have a pet-friendly hotel at each level. And it does vary. I think at Riverside, Port Orleans, it's $50 a night, and at Yacht Club, it's $75 a night. But it's still great to not have to board your dog and have her in there with us. So that's a little tip. If you're going, you don't have to board. There are 4 hotels where you can keep your pet. But just to stop by there and feel like we're something and walk around a little bit and just soak in a little Disney magic. And to us, it's worth it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you said that about the pets. I just yesterday I uploaded another video. Well, by the time this airs, it'll be last week, but I uploaded another video about Motel 6, and Motel 6 actually commented on me, "Don't forget about our pet policy. Like, pets are free. Pets are part of the family." So I'm glad you mentioned that. There are a few Disney hotels in Orlando too that will allow the pets to come.
And I think it's easier for them too now that all the rooms aren't carpet, which some people lament and some people don't. But it used to be, I think Riverside had a few rooms off to the side that they used for pets. Now every room's pet friendly. So it was great. And they give you a little doggy bowl and a little tag, and they get it's a little one of the little bone cases for your poop bag. So it's pretty cool. It was worth doing. It was fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay. What have you made any mistakes in booking your hotels, would you say? Or is it all been pretty good?
No, we've had really good experiences. It's funny. So a buddy of mine, and he has a lot of money, so his budget is very different than mine. Never been to Disney, and they booked the I talked about how much I love the Polynesian, which is my favorite themed hotel. Like, I think out of all the hotels, that theming is the best. I mean, it really is escapism at its best. I mean, I feel like I'm in another world. And so I talked about it. He doesn't understand Disney at all anyway. So they booked a bungalow over the water, like $4,000 a night.
Wow.
And they didn't love it. And if I'm being honest, I didn't love it.
Oh.
Now, it's a great room, because here now we're back to the difference between expensive and there's value in it. It was a beautiful room, beautifully appointed, and I will tell you that there is I don't know what the dollar amount is, but sitting in the little waiting hot tub with my feet up, watching fireworks from our room, because they invited us to come down and stay with them. Otherwise, I would have never seen the inside of one of these places. That was awesome, and that experience, sitting out with them on the deck and watching the fireworks, was worth it. But I don't think I'd recommend it. I mean, if you have money where it's literally no object and you don't care, then it's great. But I did not see the value for me in it. And some of that, right, is the way we all vacation. So the closest I would say to a mistake is my mom went with us 2 years ago at Christmas time, and we stayed in Saratoga, which is a beautiful hotel. And we had a 2-bedroom, because now there's 6 of us, and it was awesome. Our room was perfect, and it was on the end closest to Disney Springs, so we could walk over there, but it was really far from the lobby. And we like to get our resort cups and fill up and get drinks, and I go down and get coffee in the morning, and we like to go in the shop, and we like to go in the big pool, and we had to drive to it. Old Key West, same way. So
Yeah.
it's not that it's wrong, but it's not the way we vacation. Um,
Right.
Even Contemporary and Bay Lake Tower, I'd rather be in Contemporary so that I can just slide downstairs and go get a snack or go to the pool than have to walk across a walkway and go over and get it. So Saratoga that style of vacationing is very different than what we do at Disney. We don't typically make our own food. Um, we've stayed at club level, and I have a spreadsheet on whether or not that's worth it, because the restaurants are so important to us. But when we've done club level, and we've done it twice, and it really does make you feel very VIP. We eat breakfast there and we eat dinner there, and then have our fun meal for lunch, because their dinner offerings are enough. Like it is small portions, but you can have enough that you are full. But does that balance out to how much more you're paying per night over what you would pay for a restaurant? So I don't know that it's a value, but we try to eke every penny we can out of everything we do.
Yeah, sure. So that's a good tip, I would say, is for a family coming, think about how you vacation other places. Are you the type that tries to penny pinch, make your own meals, or, you know, do everything DIY, like DIY vacationers? Do you do it
Right.
yourself, or do you want to be treated? And so that even in Disney, don't change the way you vacation just because you're going to Disney. You can do it the way that you normally would. It's just, yeah.
Right. And we did that, when I was a kid, and we live in Virginia, and we have a Busch Gardens not too far from here. And when I was a kid, we didn't eat in the parks. We went out to the car, we had a picnic basket, and they had picnic tables outside, and we would sit out there and eat to save money to be able to do everything else. And so Disney and Orlando really offers that. I mean, some of these houses you can rent now are incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
they're Disney level theming inside there, with Star Wars theaters and slides from bedrooms into pools and all kinds of stuff. When we stayed in the houses, they were just houses. Still spectacular. But I mean, you can really have a 15-bedroom house with your whole 3 families in there. And that's going to, even at that extreme of a level, you're going to save money compared to getting 3 rooms or a DVC room, with 3 bedrooms. But again, now you got to drive to the parks, and that can be a headache for some. And
Yeah. But maybe the point of that vacation is the family time. Maybe you're bringing cousins from different states and you're all meeting. So maybe that's the point, and maybe that's what you need. So,
exactly. I mean, I find it hard to get my family of 5 going in the same direction. So we've talked to friends who are about, well, we'd love to come down and meet you. I'm like, you can meet us, but we're going to have separate vacations. We can stay in the same place and try to meet for a meal, but it's so hard. I want to go to Peter Pan. I want to go to Space Mountain. I want chicken fingers. I want sushi. It's all over the place. So if you were doing a big family reunion, it would be better to say, hey, let's meet back at the house and we'll cook dinner and cook burgers, rather than try to cram a reservation of 17 into, Skipper Canteen or something, or even just as down at Cosmic Rays. It's just tough to have everybody like that. So yeah, the way you
yeah.
vacation really would make a big deal in how I would select a hotel. DVC, we didn't buy DVC because we didn't want to, at the time, we were probably a little foolish, but we liked staying in the hotel proper as opposed to the DVC stuff. We wanted to be, right where everybody else was, not in a room in the back, which, I don't know, we would have saved a lot of money if we'd done it early, but who knew? I didn't know I was going to start a podcast and a YouTube channel and make this my life. I just thought we were going on vacation.
So did you buy DVC eventually then? Oh,
Nope,
we
we
haven't done
didn't.
it.
And because now it's so expensive. It's just I know we'd save money in the long run, but I just keep looking at it going, yikes. And now at this point, my wife's close to retirement, and when she does, we'll probably move down there. So maybe we'll buy some points to do staycations, but we plan to move not to Orlando, but somewhere around there to see if this YouTube thing works out, and then try to be able to have a little more access, because it's hard doing it from Virginia.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Well, I keep me posted. I would be interested to see what hotel you pick as your home base if you do go into DVC.
I know it's so hard.
But yeah, no pressure. Like, that's a lot of money
Right.
too. I understand. Like, yeah. So you mentioned your wife loves to soak her feet in the hot tub, and so that would be was anyway, or is wasn't is a perk or a feature of the hotel that you would look for. What other features in the hotel are you looking for when you are booking your vacation?
So, by now we've definitely got our favorites, right? But the theming is really important. And I think when we do our big trips, we kind of float back and forth between the monorail and yacht club. And
Okay.
in the Epcot area, we stayed at the Swan, and I like the Swan. They're beautiful hotels, but they just don't quite, for me, have that pixie dust sprinkled on it. It's gorgeous. We stayed at the Swan Reserve. I loved it. Absolutely would stay there again. But for that price, I'd probably go back to Yacht Club. And Yacht Club, you can walk to Epcot and you can walk to Hollywood. We don't, but you can. Typically we take a boat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that pool is just so amazing. Stormalong Bay is
Mm-hmm.
by far the best pool on property. So when we try to alternate and stay over there on that side, and then we have Epcot and Hollywood are kind of our home parks there, and we get there real quickly, and then we float back over and contemporary. My oldest daughter loves Floridian. We've only stayed there once, and my wife and I stayed there for our anniversary one year, but she loved that hotel. But staying on the monorail, I mean, a lot of my Disney love comes from nostalgia. So to be able to stay in the original hotels, is something special.
Yeah.
Again, I think Polynesian has the best theming, but if I could only stay in one, I'd probably pick Contemporary. There's just something about that hotel and that style and the Mary Blair, you know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
going up the elevator shafts. There's something about that really speaks to us. And it's not bad to be able to sit in bed and look out your window and see a castle and fireworks from your pillow either. That's not bad. But there's something about the theming of that hotel that really we just love. So theming is really important. Riverside, again, when we need to save, can't afford to spend $700. Riverside, walking to get your coffee, even though that's a big resort, it's just so peaceful. I mean, it's so beautiful what they've done there. It's hard to believe it's a hotel. And that's what we use Disney for, is for at least a little bit out of the year to pretend like we don't have real lives. So we want something that really draws us away from the real world and makes us think like we're somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you mentioned you have stayed in the bubble. You recommend in the bubble, Disney bubble, but you've also stayed off property. So can you talk a little bit more about how location plays a factor into the type of trip you are going for?
It's about, it depends on how you drive. If you have road rage, you do not want to be outside of the bubble. The traffic in Orlando is terrible. I mean, coming in is just like your blood is thump 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 thump, because they're trying to get to work. They're going from Tampa to somewhere else. I-4 is such a busy road. Now, once you get on property, look, people are on vacation. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to get in a turn lane and realize they're in the wrong place. I can forgive that, right? But staying outside. So the condo places we stayed, the little resort we stayed in, was about a half an hour away down Erlo Bronson. So it was way outside of the park. And it was about a 20-minute drive. We did end up finding a little road that snuck in past Animal Kingdom, but it was bumper to bumper. If you have a reservation you're trying to make, it's hard. It can be hard on property to make a reservation. You don't know if you miss a monorail or the bus takes too long or whatever goes on. Even driving can take longer than you plan. But once you're off property, it can be very difficult to budget your time because you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the balance for that is saving a lot of money, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the dollars you save could be worth that for you. But if you have high blood pressure, it can really be difficult. And then if you want to pop home, when the kids were young, they napped. So, now you're talking a couple hours out of your day. And when you're spending as much money as you do on a Disney vacation, I want every penny. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really where you have to think, like, what am I willing to spend to make sure my vacation time is really maximized as opposed to travel time, because it can become an ordeal staying. The further from property you go, the more you're going to, you know, fighting with people the whole way in. It doesn't feel very magical, right?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Uh, okay. We've talked about a lot already. Um, what about any stories you have, maybe from all the years your family has gone? Are there any special moments you can recall that you had at the hotels and resorts that you've stayed at?
I mean, there's so many. Like, I mean, and that's the thing about Disney. I truly credit. I like to think that my wife and I had something to do with it, but I truly credit Disney for keeping my kids young longer, for making them believe in magic and Santa Claus, which we still believe in. But it kept them kids. I mean, I'm a big kid. I mean, I hope that's why my wife married me, or otherwise she's in a lot of trouble. But I mean, I am still in awe. I still watch fireworks with my mouth open. I was worried. I was very worried actually when I started trying to do this, to add, you know, as something I was really passionate about, and that was something that from Lou that he really motivated me to try, because I am so passionate about this that working hard for it becomes easy, right? Like editing video is exciting to me, but I was worried that, you know, when you go behind the curtain, and something becomes a job, you know, is it still going to be the same? But I still get just as excited pulling up, you know, and I've been 15 times this year, right? You know, I've been a bunch, and I'm still just as excited. So I attribute what Disney does through their customer service and from the way they design these hotels and what they do. And like, again, I mentioned it earlier, but one of my favorite memories is watching my kids hula in the Polynesian in front of that waterfall, which I do miss. I think that was a mistake. But I mean, going back, or you know, when they wishing happy birthday on the buttons, these little tiny things. We had some spectacular stuff. One year we had dinner at Cinderella's castle, and they wouldn't let us out because of the fireworks. So we literally were one of 8 people watching fireworks from the castle right over our head. You know, these little magical moments. And I think that is the greatest thing about staying on property, is that magic starts at that castle and it just seeps outward, you know, and it lives in those hotels. But I mean, I will say the first year we stayed at the Polynesian, I told them, and that was the first year we stayed a full trip on property. So not a great way to start if you're budget conscious. But I didn't tell anyone, and I am not a good secret keeper. So I'm just chewing my nails. My wife didn't know, my kids didn't know. And so, I told them we were staying at Riverside, but we were going this way. And I was playing Polynesian music, but it didn't click for them. And then once we pulled into the gate, they finally suspected something. So the look on their faces when they knew we were going to stay at this place because we've always resort hopped, right? Like that. And that is a big thing everyone should do. And if you are torn on whether or not it's worth spending that money, you know, stay somewhere cheaper and then park it, ticket and transportation or somewhere else, you know, make reservations for the restaurants in the hotels, because they are some of the best on property. Most of our meals are in hotels, right? When we go, as opposed to in the parks.
Okay.
But the look on their faces to get to stay at the Polynesian, I mean, we thought we were millionaires, you know, they didn't know I was going deeply into debt and they wouldn't be able to go to college, for it. But I don't regret a penny of it. You know, it's kept our family tight. We all still like each other. And I think these Disney trips have done it, you know.
That's so good. Yeah. So good you still like each other after.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
but yeah, resort hopping. I like no one's brought that up yet. If you make the decision to stay on property, but then you're still like, oh, how do I decide exactly which one? They all look so great. Try a couple if you can.
Oh man.
Nothing wrong with
I,
that.
and I don't know if this is a tip. I haven't told everyone this, and it'll probably change it. My wife says I say too much, that I tell these secrets and then they shut them down. But when I went down to do I did some decorations in the gingerbread houses at all the hotels. I parked at Wilderness and I told them where I was going, and they were fine. So Contemporary and Polynesian and Floridian, I doubt they'll let you park unless you have a reservation. It's just too busy, and I think too many folks do it. But I parked at Wilderness, and I went in there, and I got a gingerbread cookie and filmed, and then took a boat ride over to Magic Kingdom, and then from there took a monorail. I walked over to Contemporary, and then took a monorail to Polynesian, and then took a bus over to Boardwalk. I mean, and I spent I spent less than $20 the whole day. Now I didn't eat a meal; I just had a cookie. But I mean, it's the best money you don't have to spend and feel like a millionaire. Walking through those hotels. There is a little bit I lament when I get back on the monorail and I realize some of these folks are getting off to go to bed and to their hotel, and I'm heading back to the Wyndham. But still, it is a great way to see the hotels, to decide, and if not, maybe get some of that value without paying for it. Go to dinner at Ohana, have something at the Contempo Cafe. Even the all the quick services are fantastic. There's a barbecue chicken pizza at Contemporary that we go for every time. It's amazing, whether we're staying there or not.
Okay. Yeah, our last big family multi-generational trip was, or our first one was last year, 2023. And there was one day I sent my parents and my sister and my nephew off to, it was a non-park day, but they were all full of energy and excitement. So I said, go check out some of the hotels. There's my mom is a big beach person. She loves the beach. So I said, go over to Beach Club. That you're going to love that theming over there and the little lake and all the, and they found so much stuff that I'm like, I haven't been everywhere, but I've looked around, I've walked around, I've tried to be observant, and they found so much stuff I'd never seen before. So,
well, and we did a podcast on that, on the top 5 reasons we keep going back. Because I have a buddy, he's like, why do you do this? Why are you spending this money? And I don't argue for Disney. I understand when you don't get it. I understand that people think I'm nuts, and I'm okay with that, right? But I still haven't done it all. I haven't stayed in every resort. I haven't eaten in every restaurant, and then they keep adding new stuff. But like I was at Festival of the Holidays on Tuesdays, and I don't drink, so there's a lot of alcohol for the festival. So I was thirsty, and I found this little place in Morocco I've never seen in my life. I had this fantastic hibiscus citrus slushy. It was unbelievable, and I've been going there for 18 years. I've never tried it. It's probably been there the whole time. So you find these little nooks and crannies each time. Every year we try a new restaurant, something we haven't done before, and they're not all winners. There's places I probably won't go again. But then, and they do something like Tony's Town Square. We go there and kind of have an okay meal, and the next thing you know, they redo the menu, and I hear it's fantastic. But I do think they do a good job keeping. There's something for everyone. There's a budget for everyone. You don't have to do a sit down meal. They're a quick service, and yes, it's a $20 hamburger or whatever, but it's made fresh, right? It's not like it's been sitting under a heat lamp. So yeah, there's always something new to find, right? I know. My wife hates Starlight, the Starlight Cafe. She hates Cosmic Ray. She doesn't, because we always get stuck there at like 11 o'clock at night, and we're starving, and it's the only thing open, and so she won't eat there anymore. That and Pecos Bill.
Yeah, if I have one main gripe about Disney Worlds, because I'm used to Disneyland, and everything's open till like midnight, 1 a.m. So it was a real shock going over to Orlando, and it's felt like basically everything closed down at 8 p.m. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm an adult. I'm going to stay up later than this. So
it is, and it used to not be that way. When we started going, it was 1 a.m., at least midnight. I've been in the park at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know they had hours, because I've got videos of my youngest daughter and I were always the ones shutting it down. But we did have, when we were staying at the Polynesian last year, I couldn't get anything to drink. We bought our resort cups. I paid $22 for that. I want to get my $22, and I like a Gatorade or with its Powerade there at night, and it's closed. I can't get a drink. I actually had to ride the monorail to the Grand Floridian, which was open till midnight, and then walk back.
Oh my!
Wow. I know, it's interesting. So it does kind of shut down a lot earlier than it used to, which is weird. But Disneyland was so different. I mean, it was really. They are two different parks, and I love that it's not the same experience at both places. though we love Disneyland Hotel. We almost stayed at Grand Californian because it was so beautiful. And on
Mm-hmm.
paper, it's maybe an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
But in practice, I don't think so. The Disneyland Hotel, I mean, the memorabilia that was in there, I mean, it was just, that pool was amazing. Trader Sam's, and oh my gosh, we just loved it. That was such a great hotel experience.
I agree. I love I love both of those hotels, Disneyland and Grand for different reasons, of course. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay, so you're obviously a repeat visitor. What's your best advice to that family that thought, oh, we're gonna have our once in a lifetime trip and we're only gonna come once? They come, they love it, and now they're like, okay, we have to go back. What's your best advice to that family?
I think, I mean, looking back, I wish I'd bought DVC. I really do. If you get that bug, and I think we knew pretty quickly that this was going to be something we were going to try to incorporate. And a lot of times, timeshare is not a great deal, right? I mean, it comes and goes, and my mother-in-law has one in Key West that's fantastic. It's the best timeshare I've ever seen in my entire life. But what it does for us is it forces us to go on that vacation every year because you paid for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, my wife traveled to Europe before our kids were born, so she's much more well traveled than I am, and I do want to go to Scotland. But now I'm planning world travel around Disney parks. So our next trip that we're saving for is Tokyo. You know, I want to go to
Oof.
Tokyo Disney, and I want to see Kyoto and all the other things as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do want to go to the other parks. It's my bucket list. So maybe that will get some of my friends off my back that I'm not just doing Disney, that I'm doing other stuff. Um, but I think if you think you're going to use it, I think, and if you can afford it, right? Because I think we looked at it one time, and if you finance it, it's not quite as good of a deal. Like if you can pay cash for it or borrow money not from Disney to do it, I think it does become a better value. But again, you got to be going back every year. And there's no way that the things change so much. So I wasn't sure. But I think rotating around, I think I would try all the hotels. I think that's what everyone should do. If you're going to go more than once, and try every single hotel at every level, save money one year, you know, and stay at a value or a moderate, even if you're a deluxe kind of person, because I really love it. And you could pick it apart that the theming's not as good and it's just kind of shoved together, but I love it. I'm amazed that we didn't stay there before. So now when I go, particularly by myself, I don't have a problem with it. I'll stay there if I can, just to be on property. You know, it is just a little
Yeah.
more magical.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know it's a lot easier for some families to just pick one place and stay there. And I totally understand that. But just personally for me, I mean, it's part of why I'm calling myself the hotel lady. But I love to stay at the different places, find out
Right.
what all the differences are and what the magical parts are, what the, just all of it.
Because you end up
But
being very surprised, right? Out of nowhere, there's just
yeah.
things I mean, they do such a good job at theming these resorts and just talking on property. But even the Wyndham, when you walk into that Wyndham, their bell staff is one of the best. I mean, it's Four Seasons level. They are incredible. I mean, I brought a car and I'm still tipping the bell guy. That's how good. I didn't bring a car and I'm still tipping the guy out front. They were just amazing, and they've really worked on their customer service. But you walk in and they've got those sensitizers going, and it's got a very particular smell, which makes you feel very Disney because each Disney resort, you know, really has its own scent. So
Mm-hmm.
you know when you're home because you
Mm-hmm.
walk in and ah, this is what it's supposed to smell like. But there's all kinds of nooks and crannies, from quiet spaces to do a little work to exciting things. I mean, you know, and you'll never get it done because as soon as you do, they're going to change something and make it better,
Yeah.
which is what they're so good at.
Yeah. I'm a little jealous too that you're planning your Tokyo Disney trip. I That's what I want to do next. We have made it to Disneyland Paris. We made it over there, and that was
Ah,
fun. But I never really had any desire to visit any of the Asian area of the world. I just wasn't interesting to me. But once, well, two things. First, we had a family that we knew here in Arizona actually moved over there, And so I saw a lot of their stuff they would share. And then some YouTubers that I watch, Ordinary Adventures, they went,
Yeah.
and of course they did Disney, but then they did all kinds of other stuff too. And I just thought, wow, that looks like so much fun and so interesting that I changed my mind. I'm like, yeah, now I want to go to Tokyo Disney and to see all the other cool stuff over there. So what else are you looking forward to besides Disney
I,
over there?
so I want to go to Kyoto. I'm looking forward to that. I love Ordinary Adventures. They do such a great job. I mean, they
I
are.
love
I wish I could. I wish I had their organizational skills, because even if they're winging it, then God bless them. But I can't plan out. I mean, a buddy of mine said I need to start storyboarding what I'm doing, because I just don't. But I'm usually just a guy with a camera going crazy and then trying to stitch it all together when I get home. Um, no, I've always been kind of fascinated by that culture. Um,
okay.
if not in my day-to-day life, but in a little, just what they do, their traditions, their mythology is incredible. No one tells stories like my kids are very much into anime, and so they love it, right? And so watching some of the stuff that they're doing, the stories are just like Studio Ghibli. Like some of that stuff is just incredible. So the whole Far East is fascinating to me. But I want to go. I mean, I really want to do an Adventures by Disney and the trip that Lou's doing. I don't know if you've listened to his podcast on that trip, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll make you buy a ticket, and everything did going to the onsen, and I mean, making food. I mean, just it's incredible. So I want to see the whole island, and then we actually watch. This is how I don't think it's boring, but I grew up in the restaurant business as a bartender, staying out late, coming home at 4 and 5 in the morning, and now my wife and I on a Friday night will watch a video with no words of a lady taking a trip on some of these sightseeing trains that go all the way around Japan. And it just looks like the trip of a lifetime. You get on in one place and go completely around the island on the coast and make little stops. That's on my bucket list of things to do. But I also want to go to Shanghai. I want to see that Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And those hotels, the hotels in Tokyo look
Mm-hmm.
insane. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
look incredible. I kind of hope we get some of that leaking over into America.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. But I also can't wait for the day my channel grows big enough that I can include those hotels because, yeah, they look amazing. And
Right?
I can't wait to go over there. Yeah.
Then it's all a big tax write-off. It's a research trip. You have to
Yeah.
go, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you are the Disney hotel lady. You have to see the Disney hotels.
Right? Yes, exactly. Okay, well, do you have anything else you would like to share with us? Anything we may have just skipped over because our conversation went in so many directions?
That's what I love. I love serendipity. I like to let that muse guide us and just end up at places. No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm all in on Disney hotels, obviously. I do I say that some of the Asian stuff and the that will leak over. I do feel like Disney's in a place now where they're not making the same take your breath away hotels that they did with Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom, Polynesian Contemporary, Yacht and Beach Club. I was at Boardwalk, walking over from Boardwalk, and I stopped and looked across, that lake, and I just can't believe that that's in Orlando. Like looking at just the skyline and the little water fountain off there, and it just looks like some idyllic, New England village. It's hard
Yeah.
to believe that you are in the middle of the tourist epicenter of the world. Um, like the Riviera, beautiful hotel, but when you walk into that lobby, it's underwhelming. It's still gorgeous, right? But and that's what I'm holding my reservations to see for the Polynesian, to see if it really takes your breath away. Or the new tower at the Polynesian, when you walk in, does it really knock you down? Because
I see.
it's like going into Wilderness Lodge. I mean, it's just there's a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't believe it's real. You can't believe that this is a theme park hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a punch you in the gut kind of moment. And I really hope Disney continues to see the value in that. These little things that maybe don't make any money on the surface, but it's devil's in the details. These subconscious things where you don't even know why you're amazed, but you are.
Mm-hmm.
So customer service and those kinds of I mean, the Grand Floridian, when you look up at that ceiling, it's
Mhm.
just it's just incredible, right? And
Yeah.
you're standing in a theme park hotel that started with a mouse.
Yeah.
So nope, we love it. We'll be there in January and then February and March and April. So we'll keep going and keep staying in the hotels.
That's great. Okay, so but mostly Disney. They can find you YouTube. Tell
Yeah,
people.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, some TikTok. I don't really. I mean, I'm posting stuff on TikTok, but that's because my kids said I had to, and why not listen to them? They know what's going on. And then one of the guys from Lou Mangello's WDW radio group, Andrew Millen, and he and I have started a podcast live, which is very nerve wracking, although kind of freeing as well. Because then if you make a mistake, there's nothing you can do. There's no editing. You go on, you keep moving. So he and I have started doing a podcast once a week. We're trying to do it Thursday ish. I think we're going to do it tomorrow, but after that, we'll be on Thursdays. And we just kind of randomly pick a topic, or if someone says, "Hey, I'd like to be on your show," sure, come on and run it. And we just looking for another outlet to be able to talk about Disney, so my friends will stop walking away from me when I get to parties because they know I'm going to bring it up at some point in time.
And the name of the podcast.
But mostly Disney.
But still,
So
but
it's
mostly Disney. Okay.
Yep. It's all under one roof now, which is
One umbrella.
easy. That's right.
Great. Well, if you need a guest, I'd love to come talk with you guys
Oh
on
yes.
your podcast.
You are on the list.
Thank you, Tater, for being with us today. We appreciate all your stories and tips and insights. Once again, I'm Stacey, your Disney hotel lady. Thanks for being with us today. Once again, I'm Stacey, your Disney hotel lady. Find us also on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Join the discussion group on Facebook. Subscribe here on YouTube so you don't miss out on our next creator interview. And don't forget DisneyHotelLady.com for all the latest reviews and rankings of Disney area hotels. Coming to you from me, Stacey, your Disney hotel lady. Thanks for watching.